Hello, it's Cherry in Florida again. Just showing you my latest clock. It's a stained glass window style clock, and I'm just going to show you all the pieces and how it works. So here are the back and the front and the sides of the clock, and these are internal shelves here, and these are just decorations. These pieces are the construction strips. I left them in grey so you could see them separately. You may not need this many, or you may need more, and you can cut them and change them, but if you cut this many out you should have enough to complete the clock. So let's zoom in a little bit and I'll show you the front first. The front consists of this piece, which I cut out of mat board with my new Cricut knife blade and Cricut maker. If you don't have a Cricut maker, you won't be able to do it, obviously, but you can use your Explore and you can cut this piece out of cardstock or maybe Cricut craft board, and you'd need to layer them. You'd need to do 2 or 3 of those depending on how heavy your cardstock is, and layer them on top of each other and glue them together. But these here are the pieces of vellum, and I used Cricut vellum for it, and as you can see they're all different, but when they're layered on top of each other certain colours show through the holes in the piercings of the front panel. So there's 4 different ones, and you cut them. If you glue them together with tiny spots of glue, trying to avoid the parts that actually show through the black front piece, because you want to avoid getting glue on those, but it doesn't really matter which order you stick them on top of each other. They will still show through the parts that you want to see. And when you put the black piece on, or you can stick them to the black piece first, stick one of them to the black piece first, you can see that they will all show through, and when you see the clock in a minute you'll see this works. And I've put a light inside my clock to shine through these, or actually I've got a string of lights, but I'll show you in a minute. These are layered decorations. I cut them out in various pieces over here. I tried to simplify them a little bit. These letters I actually did print and cut and then put them on a black backing here. I used Cricut craft board to give them a little bit of weight and stuck those on. Tempus fugit, it means time flies in Latin. I just thought it looked appropriate to the style of the clock. And these little padlock shaped pieces, which also have 3 black layers underneath them, I'll show you again in detail in a moment. Those are what we use to as decorative covers to where the battery, but not batteries, magnets go that close the doors of the clock. Although you can't see it, there are 2 doors here. If I change this to white you'll see what I mean. There they are. And actually those aren't placed properly, but when you come to make it you put these on each of the doors and the decorations, and they give you access to the clock mechanism and to the battery for the lights that I'll show you in a moment. So I'll just change that back to black, because that's how it is on the clock. And there's one clock face that fits there. I have a clock mechanism which I'll tell you about in a moment, and as I say, these are the internal shelves. This is the roof. It's actually 12 inches by 6 inches. You'll see it up here. I didn't cut mine out with my Cricut, because if you did you'd need a piece of cardstock or whatever you're using that's longer than 12 inches, and you'd need a longer mat, and it was just as easy for me to cut by hand a piece of 12 by 12 cardstock to 6 inches wide. And you'll see I also used another piece of cardstock which I didn't cut with my Cricut. That's a sort of marble coloured, blue marble coloured, but you'll see all that in a moment. So I'm going to go across and take you to the clock that I've nearly finished, and I will see you in a minute. So here we are. This is the almost finished clock. I've left some pieces off so that I can show you how I put it together. But it's the same method as all of my clocks. If you've seen my other videos, we have construction strips, which are these scored pieces of cardstock, and every seam or joint has one of these on both the outside and on the inside to give it strength. This clock is made from, first of all, the front is made from this board here, which is like a very smooth black matte board, and my Cricut maker cut this very intricate shapes out with the new knife blade. As I said when I showed you it in Design Space, if you don't have a Cricut maker and a knife blade, you would need to cut these pieces out 2 or 3 times out of maybe craft board or cardstock and glue them together and layer them on top of each other. But if you do have a maker, you'd be surprised how intricately it will cut out. I had to ask it to run the cut a couple more times at the end. The program asks you whether it has cut all the way through, and if not, you can press the go button again and it will cut another once more. But once it had done that, it cut it out beautifully. The rest of the clock I just used graphics medium chipboard, which looks like this, 12 by 12. But oh no, that's the board I just showed you. This is the chipboard. It looks pretty similar, but I don't think the fibres are quite as firm as the matte board style of board, and it may not work so well for the intricate cut on the front of this clock. But it's a little less expensive than the matte board, so I used it for the back and the sides. So, as I told you on the Design Space little video, I should take this out, actually I'll tell you about that in a minute. This is Cricut vellum that you see shine through the front, and it's all those pieces that you saw in Design Space all laid on top of each other and all stuck together with little tiny dots of this art glitter glue, which is very good for that sort of thing. It sticks clear and quickly. And then I already put the clock movement in, because sometimes these clock movements are a little fiddly to handle. After you open the back and everything else, you can still get the batteries in, but I usually put them in at this point before I put all the sides on and put the battery on and get it moving and going. And I get those, well, you can get them in all sorts of places. You can certainly find them in Michael's, Joann's, Hobby Lobby, Walmart, eBay, I'm sure, Amazon. This particular one is from AliExpress, very, very inexpensive, but takes at least 2 or 3 weeks to arrive. And they're very much the same, because, hey, they're all made in China anyway. The same thing as Hobby Lobby and Joann's sell is the same. And so the shelf pieces, the hole in it is to the front, so you can get your hand in there and do various things. And I haven't stuck those to the sides, because once you've got the sides stuck on, just like over here, they're not going to move anyway, but you could put a little tab and glue those into place if you wanted to. And the middle shelf, I tried to line up on with this here, basically, and the top shelf just at the top of the side walls. And then I've already put most of the decorations on. Those are the layered pieces. This is the print and cut words, tempus fugit, which I already told you is time flies in Latin. This has a magnet underneath, and I'll show you how I did that in a moment and where I get the magnets from, and keeps the door closed. These don't have to be that firm really, because you're not going to be opening these doors very often. And instead of using this card to affix the door, I use some black masking tape, which I got from Amazon, but you could use these construction strips if you wanted to. I just felt it's a little more flexible, not to have paper, but to have the tape. And so that's all I want to say about, the magnets, by the way, I get from eBay. I'll see if I can find a link for you. They're these very strong magnets. I buy about 100 or 200 at a time. I buy the very thin 1mm thick ones, and I buy them in various sizes according to what I'm doing. In this one I put the very small ones 2 at a time on the lock, but I'll show you that in a minute too. I also got some lights to put inside. I got these ones. I found those, I think, in TJ Maxx, but you can find them all over the place. And these have a timer, so they'll come on for 5 hours in the evening and then switch off again, which I quite like, that you don't have to keep opening the door and switching them on and switching them off. You could probably put 3 electronic, and not real ones obviously, tea lights in here, 1 on each level, but I liked these lights because they were nice and bright and gave an even look to them. So I think I'm going to put those in now and show you how I'm going to do them. So because I want to be able to access them from the back, from the door at the back, I'm going to put the battery pack just here, and then I'm going to tape the wire down that's next to it. I want to be able to get it out through the back door though, so I'm going to leave a little space before I do that. And I know I went and got some scissors so that I could cut this, and I've left them somewhere. So I'll just pause you for a second while I go and retrieve those. And I'm back again, and I'm going to use this black tape, but you could use any tape or to hold them down in place. And I'm going to tape the wire down, first of all, just inside the door here, and put that in. And I will switch them on so you can see what's happening. And these have 15 lights, so I'm going to try and disperse them evenly, about 5 in each layer, so that the front is evenly lit. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to tape these down to the floor. You do not want your wire or your light too close to, you see, if you have them too close to your window, as it were, they will show through individually. So I'm going to tape them down so that they are closer to the back than the front. And I will get some more tape and do that. And I will have that there. Take that to the floor of my clock. Then I'm going to bring up the next 5 to the next layer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to tape those down as well to the floor of the shelf. Not right against the back wall, but somewhere in the middle on the shelf thing, but away from the window section. Now I've lost the end of my tape. There it is. So I'm going to do that. And one piece of tape over there on the inside. I'll show you sideways as well. It's a bit fiddly to get in. The wire will bend too once they're taped in place if you want them to be more towards the back. And I'm going to tape it, let me see, I've got about 5 to go upstairs, about here, so there's on the top layer there, and I'm going to tape this one over here. See that? You can adjust this when you look at them at the end, but to begin with I'm just going to tape that one somewhere about here, and then I'm taking the final piece up to the top, and I'm going to tape that to the floor as well. So a couple of pieces of tape. I'm going to put one piece here to keep it away from the window, towards that side, and I'm going to put one piece at the end part, which is over here, and I'm going to tape that over here, and then I'll see how that looks through the front, because you can always put a couple more pieces of tape if they're not quite landing where you wanted them to. I'm going to put one here. So, we'll see how that looks. And that's looking pretty even. I've got one here that's a little, I don't want the wire to show through either. I might put another piece of tape there just to keep that even, but you can always reach through the door at the back if it didn't quite go where you wanted. And I'm going to tape that one on the inside as well. And this one came out of its hold. There, something like that. And press them down firmly, you don't want them springing up again. And I think you can see, if I show you a bit closer, how I taped those into place. And the light is a bit bright for you to see. I'm going to turn the lights off at the end so you can see how that looks. And then I'm going to glue this side onto here. Going on, and I have already put the construction strips on each side of those. I've had to cut them down at the middle because there's a shelf in the way. And I'm going to glue that on here. So I'm going to put it on its side to do that, and I will use this glue. If it will come out, yes it will. Make sure that that is right up to the edges. First, and add a little more to help keep it in place. It's going to stick to that. And there it is. And make sure when you do it that it's all square, and hold it firmly in place until the glue holds it properly where you want it to be. So I'm holding all sides of it, making sure all the edges are nice and flush to the edge of my. And you can go in here and sort of push it in place, but it's difficult to reach in other places. and that feels fairly reasonable, just over there, and pushing it inwards just to make sure. But also these extra pieces that we're going to put on the outside are going to help it keep it in place as well. So I will do those now. Come over here so you can see what I'm doing. And these are going to go down. This is on there. Make sure the ends are level, and give that a nice push. And that's one. And I'm going to put one on this side too, to keep these pieces together. And it also makes the joints look smoother if they're not quite perfect. And that is going on there. And I need to make sure that the door is open and that the lock is not caught underneath it. And that seems to be about right. So that's that. And then I'm not going to do it now, I'll do them afterwards, but I'll show you afterwards. Then I would stick these pieces. But actually not until I've got this piece and this piece, this construction strip here and this one here on there. And I have to cut a couple down to fit. And I will do that. And that should fit. One needs a slight trim off at the top. And this piece should fit in here, like that. And that keeps that firmly in place as well. So I'm going to put that there. And stick that on here. Okay. And this one I can press from underneath as well to make sure it's nice and firmly stuck. And that keeps this shelf in place as well. And this one has already been done, this side. Just pushing down my tape again. I did a rather quick job so that I didn't keep you all waiting. And that's that. Now the roof piece was a piece of 12 by 12 that I cut 6 inches across. Although it shows it on the design space pattern, I wouldn't cut it out of design space. It's very easy just to trim a piece of paper down to 6 inches. And I've already put the construction strips here, and as I put them I cut notches out like this. In fact, I did it 2 at a time, like this. All the way along, and then when I stuck them down I did 2 or 3 pieces at a time, made sure they were nice and firm and clean down the sides, and then I did another 3 all the way around. One strip wouldn't go all the way around, I had to cut 2 and put them on, and so now I have it like that for the roof to stick on. I've already trained the roof a bit to be round. I also scored it. I did this by hand. Sometimes I think it's more happy to bend if it's got score marks on it, but you don't need to do that. I haven't done that on all my clocks, I do it occasionally. So this is about 1/2 inch wider at the front and the back, and I'm going to start by sticking it on the front part because I'm more concerned that it looks perfect at the front and I am about the back. So I'm putting a little bit of glue on each of these tabs, Oh, and actually I usually put a tab here, which I forgot. I think I will. Something like this. And I usually put one here for it to stick there too. So I'll do that quickly before the glue decides to completely stick. I'm going to put one there, level with the edge, and I'm going to bend it back slightly, but not at an angle, just so that it can catch the roof. And I better put one on the other side as well. So I'll cut that down to size, just inside where it'll fit. And I'm going to glue that down too. Onto there, bring that and that out, and take that on the inside, move the glue that sticks up, and put a bit of glue in here too. Perhaps I'll put the glue on here as well. It may be hard to get it underneath there once it's in place. So I'll try and do it all in one go and see how that works. And if it doesn't, you'll know what not to do, won't you? A lot of what I do is testing and redoing things. The final product, when it gets to you, has been tested with all sorts of things before I get it to you. So I'm going to try and get it evenly, don't want too much glue, evenly on the top and the sides, so that it comes over at the front and the back about the same amount, and I'm going to try and get it to stick into place. And I may have to lift pieces and re-stick it, but let's see how we're doing. This looks a little bit more at the back than the front, and there's still the glue still wet under there, so I'll bring them up a little bit and push them out so that they grab this. I have stuck them before with hot glue, and you might find that easier, but sometimes the hot glue is so unforgiving if you get little move in slightly the wrong place, which of course this kind of glue is more forgiving. It lets you reposition and change your mind and fiddle with it a bit until you get it exactly where you want it. But you may have to do what I'm doing and a bit more glue. I'm going to bend this one out slightly so that it grabs the, that's it, and hold it in place. It seems to be working pretty well. And you can always sort of put some glue right up to the edge. And try not to make a mess like I'm beginning to do. And hold that one in place. And make sure it looks even. And now I'm not sure mine is. Yep, I think mine's tipped. So these are some of the hazards of anyway. I'm going to pause while I make sure that is stuck down firmly, because you don't want to watch me play. Okay, so I got the roof to stick, and I also added a little bit of this bling on a roll, which I cut down to size and made it 3 rows instead of, I think it's 8. You can get this in Walmart if you want to do the same sort of thing, but I just put that on. And I'm also going to stick this piece of marble style paper over the top of my roof. I scored that as well, and I'm going to stick that down with some different kind of glue. I'm going to use Fabri-Tac, but they also make one called 3-in-1. It's the same company, and I think it's the identical glue, and you can get that in Joann's, and funnily enough 3-in-1 is slightly less expensive than Fabri-Tac, but I always get them anyway with a coupon. But the reason I use Fabri-Tac is it doesn't make your cardstock or paper buckle, and it doesn't show glue lines through it like some glues do, and it's very good for large surfaces like this one. And I decided to stick it on afterwards rather than before, so that this was already curved where it wanted to be, and this could lie over the top. So I'm going to put that on there and press it down. So I'm back. My battery went flat in the middle of that last piece of filming, and I also decided that the camera angle wasn't really that great. So I've changed it round. You'll have to see what you think. I've done a few more pieces to the clock since you were last here with me. I'm going to show you the final piece in a moment. I adhered the roof, and blue piece is now properly stuck. I added a little bit of the bling on a roll that I told you about from Walmart and various other places, I'm sure, on there. I put the final decorations on. And that's the back, and that's the side, and there's the front. It is lit, but you can't really see it very well because it's too light in here, but you'll see it in the photographs that I'm going to post later. I've put my usual Tim Holtz feet on the clock. I think they give a nice stability and finish to the clock. You can get various other feet or make your own in Design Space, and I might try some more of those later clocks and things that I'm making. I also added a little bit of a few flat-backed pearls. I just chose a few that matched the colours in the clock. They're all on the front. There are 1 or 2 decorating the sides, and that was partly because when the clock isn't lit, the front can look a little less bright than the sides, so I just wanted to give it a little bit of extra pizzazz on the front. And I told you about the magnet on the back, and that's one door there, and I'm just going to show you how I attach those. So I made the little padlock shape. I've already stuck one of the black pieces on the back of it. I'm going to sandwich 2 of these little magnets I told you about. These are neodymium magnets. Make sure you get them the right way around, so I want them from the top. And I'm going to sandwich them between this and this. I don't think you can see. Let me do this properly. Between this piece here and this piece here, I'm going to put these 2 magnets, and make sure they're the right way up. I'm going to put these 2 magnets, glue them, one here and one next to it. I'll show you when I've glued them down, and yes, I'm using the art glitter glue again. and the second one. Glue those there. They will push away from each other a little because they're opposite poles. There they are, glued there. Now I'm going to put another black piece on top to keep them in place. So I put a bit of glue on top of the magnets and around the magnets, all over the back of this. Keep them in place. And I'm going to sandwich them between that piece there. And then, and I put them on the wrong side because they're coming over to this side, so let me just do that again. So actually, if they're going to be on the front of the door, they need to be on this side. I just glued them on the other side just to see if you were watching. And I've sandwiched them again. And then the third piece, I'm going to glue down this side first, only half of it, like that. Actually, I'm still doing the wrong thing. I'm going to glue down this side first. I'm not very good with left and right, you may have noticed, and I'm going to leave this side open a little bit and put glue on that too. So now I have this like this with this side still open, and I'm going to push that onto the door. Let me get it so you can see, onto the door on both sides so that it sticks on both sides, and make sure the magnets are far enough out, but also that it's about a bit less than halfway across the door, like that. So I've stuck it on both sides, the black piece on that side and that side, so it's pushed into that. And now I have to put the magnets onto the inside here. Sorry, let's do it again. Inside here to match up with those. And actually I notice a little bit of my construction strip hasn't stuck down properly, so I'm going to get a little piece of, I'll do it with this actually, this is a piece of card, put a little bit of glue on the edge of it. It's just a piece of shiny card came through the mail, it's a bit of advertising, and I'm going to push it in to the gap and push that flat, hopefully, maybe a little bit more. A little bit more now, maybe even with the, I don't want to actually get glue on the all around the door, so I'll try this again. So if you do have any gaps, try pushing the glue on a piece of card or a piece of paper at the gap and press it flat, which is what I've done there. And now I'm going to get these other two magnets, and they need to stick on here, behind here, and to, I'm going to find out which way they need to be as well. They need to be that way round, and I am going to glue those behind here. It's probably, I don't know, it's probably easier to stick them behind the door first, behind this wall first, and then you can slightly adjust your padlock to fit over them, but I managed to make it work. So these have to have the glue on this piece. I can move them slightly afterwards, and I will put a piece of tape on them to cover them as well. Oh, I dropped it inside the clock, which is not what I wanted to do. there it is, and that one can go there, and then this one needs the glue on the part that's stuck to the back. Yes, I'm sure I did stick them on the inside wall first on the other one and then move them around a little afterwards, but let's see how those work. No, they don't like that. Let's try one more time. Put the glue on the right side this time. See where they come to. The two magnets are there. So I really think it would have been easier to put them on the inside of the wall first. I think that's what I probably did with the last one. Right, and the glue needs to be on that side. Right. They're just about in the right place. Oh, it needs to move up a bit. Yep. So now they're, that was probably not the right way around to do it. As I say, try sticking them on the wall first, and then when you've got them sandwiched in here, making sure they're the right way around, you can move them slightly up and down the door till you get them in the right place. But I'm just going to cover those now with a little piece of tape like I showed you earlier. Washi tape or anything will work, or a little bit of masking tape. It looks better if it's black, if you're making a black clock. And I'm just going to stick that over the magnet on the inside. And this came off, which is not what I wanted, but I can put them back. And so they're firmly stuck in there, let's see. Yes, and there's the door, stuck it, closing again. Anyway, that's the final part of the clock. I hope you like it. I think it's very attractive. It looks very, very nice as it gets dark. As I say, the lights are on a timer. They come on for 5 hours and then go off again. And I don't think there's much more to tell you, except that this clock does need you to have the cartridge, or own the cartridge, ornamental iron, which is no longer on access. It's being discontinued by Cricut, but if you own the cartridge already, or if you buy the cartridge, if you find it somewhere, and you can still put it on your account on Design Space and use it. I try to avoid using ornamental iron anymore because I know that there are a lot of people that don't have access to it, but this particular clock, this front of it, really I couldn't find anything to substitute in any of the other access images that would work so well as this one. So ornamental iron in order to make this clock, but I will post the link to the pattern underneath, and I'll find a link hopefully for the magnets. And if you do own that cartridge, or you find that cartridge, I hope you enjoy making this one. That's my stained glass style window clock, or stained glass window style clock. So goodbye. If any of you are going to be in Utah for the Cricut Makeathon, look me up, I will be there, and otherwise I'll see you on the fourth. And I've come back for one last little comment, since I messed up putting the batteries in the door and explaining how to do it. So they're now properly adhered, and what I actually did, I took this off. I put the batteries in here where I wanted them to be first of all, in the right place, and then I did the sandwich thing that I told you about, put the two batteries here, same distance apart as these, making sure that they were attracted to each other in the right place, and then I slid my piece on the door until it matched up with those batteries properly and closes properly like the top one does. As I say, they don't have to be too firmly opening and closing, because you don't open these doors very often. It's just to put a new battery in, either the lights or the clock. So I will say goodbye once again, and that is really it this time. Bye.